Sports Beat Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, as always. Dustin Schutte with me from Outsider.com, as always. And I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget, we're brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, #1 dealer around, and of course Endeavor Hospitality and all of the families that fall under that great umbrella, like Southern Stone, Courtroom Sports Grill, Feast Market Cellar, Cabello, and BB's Market, where we will be Friday. I can't wait. And man, this is going to sound, cannot wait to get to everything. We've got football coming up to talk about. We got everything to talk about. Baseball, the races are coming down. The Colts cut their roster to 53. Big Ten play starts tomorrow night. What isn't there to talk about? And we're going to be live at BB's on Friday, making something I don't know yet what it is. Maybe I'll just let JD surprise me. But I went in there yesterday, and one of the things they have, and this is going to sound wild, are blueberry sausages, big sausages, about, breakfast sausages about this long. It's basically like oh, daggone it. Not a hot dog, but
like a sausage link.
Yeah, but if bratwurst, it's kind of like a,
there we go. Okay.
Bratwurst, but it's a sausage, but it's a breakfast sausage. But oh my God. So I'm like thinking already, as I'm thinking about it, because I was going to go over there, I'm like, boy, that would be good. I'm like, can you imagine just dipping that in some syrup?
That would probably be pretty, yeah.
Then I got the idea, and I'm like going, oh, I think they should take and inject some syrup into it. So when you cook it, it's already in there.
Right.
But that's crazy. But anyway, so I went there and I was talking to him about some stuff this weekend, and I brought a couple of home. So I said, well, I've got to try this. I've got to try this blueberry sausage. So I said, I don't know about that. I said, it didn't sound, it doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't sound appetizing. To your point, you know what would be really good? If you got some like pancake batter and made that like a breakfast corn dog.
Oh, hold on. Oh, much. Boy, don't. There you go, JD. When you listen to this, I'm going to remind him of that. But anyway, so I ended up having one. I don't know that I needed the syrup.
Oh, really?
I mean,
that good?
It was like, I was like, it already put you in the mind. It was like, oh my, this is. Now syrup would have probably just put it over the top, and. Right. I was worried I couldn't find my syrup, and then I found it at the end. I'm like, nah, I'm going. I said, I've got another one. Maybe I'll try it on the next one. I'm good with this one. But I was like, I did not think I was going to like a blueberry sausage, and man, whoo, I can't wait to have more of those suckers.
No, that does not sound like something that would be that good, but I'm anxious.
Great.
I'm anxious to try it now. I'm anxious to try it.
It was great. Well, hopefully when you come up, well, yeah, on one of we'll get to, we'll be going there because we'll be there. Tim's on it, hitting us up already. Appreciate you. Travis gets blueberry bacon at his local butcher. Boy, man, I can't imagine how good that would be, because there's nothing Jim loves more than bacon. I have fallen in love with bacon. And I know it is not the healthiest for you, that you're not. So I try to eat as healthy the rest of the time that I can, because I am not given up my damn bacon. I have just fallen in love. I did not eat bacon growing up that much. Not to say I didn't eat it, but I didn't like it. Wasn't something I had very often. I want it all the time now, baby, when I cook. And I do that a lot. Joseph, appreciate you, brother. Joseph F. listening while he's driving back. He's probably going to an interview somewhere. I know he went and met with some guys up north, former intern for J.C. Halls. Let's see what some of these comments I missed. Tony Stewart's going to be in the Fox broadcast booth when Tony Pedregrin for this weekend's U.S. Nationals in Indy. He's not a very good. I don't think he's very good in the announce booth in the booth. He's okay, but he doesn't have a lot of personality.
No, he's very dry.
I mean, he's good. His knowledge is superb, but he hasn't done it a lot either. It's like Dale Jr. He steps on his basic, what you'd call the play-by-play guy in their booth a lot. I've noticed when there's a big wreck, the guy will be calling the action. Dale's, Jim Johnson going on. He just gets so excited. It's just because he's so excited. He just loves it. I like listening to him.
Jeff Burton does a good job too. I don't know if you've listened to races with him on the call, but he does the same thing. But you can hear it.
Yeah,
in his
well,
voice.
you know, Jeff Burton's on there right now. Dale, and Dale, when they were coming out of turn 2, he's got that real squeaky high voice.
Yeah, but he's excited, man. I love it.
And now the funniest thing is you should hear him and his brother talk.
Oh, I've heard his brother talk. Yeah, Ward Burton had that. Yeah, that was
what is
bizarre sort of accent.
Yes, because they're both from someplace in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Burton,
he was got that real high voice. He still has that he still talks like he's probably from Virginia, you know.
Right.
Ward Burton talk more like this, and I don't know what kind of accent you would call that, especially when they were brothers growing up in the same place and the same area. I don't know how that happens. Not that that's good impersonation, but
I don't know either. That was pretty solid. But he almost has like a Savannah accent. Like you can tell Jeff Burton's from Virginia, but Ward Burton, yeah, it's very Southern, I would say.
Joseph's he's hoping to have an interview with the Pistons G League team in a few weeks to be an account executive. There we go, baby. Let's get you in one of these spots. Dwayne, working, driving road, listening. Appreciate you. Jason, Aaron Judge hit his 51st last night and his Yankees finally get a win. Yeah, we'll hit the standings in a minute, Jason, and see where they are. Appreciate having you, brother. Peyton Manning jumps out of a plane to support Navy SEALs Foundation. Let me tell you, buddy, you would have to. That's the only way you could get me to jump out of a plane, as if it was for. Boy, you're going to have to rope me into it being for something else other than just doing it. I ain't doing it.
No.
I'm past that point. There was a point in life where there was nothing, and I mean nothing, I wouldn't try. Well, I've passed that point.
That's
I used to love doing stuff that I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Trying stuff you shouldn't try. I've passed that point. I am no longer there, baby.
Let me tell you, there's still quite a few things that I want to try and do, but jumping out of a plane has never been on my list. I have no desire to do anything.
I would love to do it. I'd still love to do it.
Mm-mm.
But
that's a big no from me. It hurts my stomach just to think about it. But I have a fear of
Tannerology on says the key to good pork barbecue is to use multitude of sauces. He uses Sweet Baby Ray's, which I know I have because I saw both kinds in my move, And recently he tried adding spicy garlic wing sauce. It was amazing. That sounds good. We're going to be going through all this stuff every Friday, but get your ideas. And no one has sent me, you guys are telling me all this, but you've not said, all right, here's my idea for this week's tailgate, and send it in a message with a semblance of a recipe. So we can do that. Mike says Ward talks like he's got a mouthful of chew. It's more than that, boy. Five Lefts is digging it today, and we love you all the time, brother. Chris says the race would be over before Ward could call the start. That ain't no lie there, bro.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, we just dropped the checkered flag here at Richmond Speedway in a turn 1, and it looks like we're coming off of turn 4, and that's going to be Kyle Busch taking the checkered flag for the win here at Richmond Speedway. That's going to boost him up into playoff standings. Tim says his favorite. Johnson says his least favorite.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, Rudy's all with us. Appreciate you. Mike says, Chris Lewis, the trailers will be backed at the shop. Here you go. Five Left says, spread your wings, Dustin. Oh, yeah. Wyatt would like to skydive. Definitely on his butt. Yeah, that's because you're young. I get it. You're young. And you should do it. You absolutely should do it, because that's something that I didn't do. And that's one thing. There are very few things. I have always been I don't want to look back and say, I wish I would have. That's why I tried to do about any damn thing I could do when I was younger. I mean, like when I was roping, man, we were everywhere, traveled everywhere. I got to go to a lot of places because of that. Roping in different places, living, and then when I worked in TV, I got to live in different places, the Pacific Northwest. I knew that was not going to be the case later. Steve jumping on with us. Appreciate you, man. Tim's got a ribs in the crock pot recipe with a bottle of Montgomery. Well, we'll talk about all that. You guys, that's not sent. You got to send me the recipes in a message, not on here, not in the comments. You got to send them to me in a message, but I appreciate it right here now. Dwayne would like to give a shout out to the Ticket Project. He and his granddaughter will be at the game Friday. Absolutely.
All right.
We've had those guys on, and we'll have them on again. So absolutely give a shout out to those guys. They do an absolutely wonderful job. Steve, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. That's usually what happens. That's like when there was old defensive coaches or offensive coaches that didn't like to throw the ball would say about passing. There's 3 things that happens when you throw the ball, and 2 of them are bad.
Yep.
Incomplete or intercepted.
I wonder if he's talking about skydiving there. Would be my guess.
Could be. Tim says, fall off the bone in the crock pot. Yeah, Mike H ain't jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Nope. Never wanted to do it. Not even when he was younger.
I'm with you, Mike.
Yeah, Steve was talking about skydiving. There you go. But, yeah. All kinds of it going on today. Hey, a great lineup as always. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. And JD will stop by. Derek Jackson. So it's loaded, man. And we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. The baseball races are coming down to the end, getting close. When is the last game, actually?
I mean,
when is just add one's 152. So whatever the
October 5th, maybe 6th, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, we can figure it out by I'm just talking about how many games are left, so I haven't gotten to the standings yet. It's, for whatever reason. Well,
121. We're about 128. So what's that? That'd be.
Oh, we still got 30 games. Nothing, a little less than 30 games. 25 games left. Roughly a month.
128, 30 would be 158. So yeah, 30, 34, somewhere in that, between 30 and 35 for most teams.
See, there's my.
You got a mental calculator up here. I got to use my fingers and my toes.
I'm telling you, the only reason is because I'm ADHD and I cannot do formulaic math. And I learned that when I was tested for ADHD a long time ago. That was one of the things that was quickly I couldn't do quickly, but so I've learned to do it in a different way. It works. It works.
Well, that's all that matters.
So yesterday, I can tell you one score that I did happen to see. Did St. Louis play the Reds yesterday? Oh, yes, they did.
They did.
They did, didn't they? What? 5-1. Hey, 13,000 showed up to see that big victory.
Ooh. Surprised they didn't run out of beer and hot dogs.
Okay, now I can't talk about Cincinnati ever again right now. As I look above that, Cincinnati, the home team there, of course, the Marlins, home to the Tampa Bay Rays, who are in a race. Tampa Bay Rays, who are in a race trying to catch the Yankees. 7,386 people.
That's pretty pitiful.
That's an Indiana high school basketball game.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to see if that was.
And the funny thing is, do you know if they play? They play at Lone Depot Park. Buddy, it's going to be hard to get a loan with 7,000 people showing up.
Yes, it is. They're going to have to end up selling the team, I'm guessing.
Holy schmorks. San Diego beat the Giants. Arizona beats Philly, who Philly is chasing a playoff spot. The Yankees get a win over the Angels. The Royals. They beat, oh my God. Rick's on today. I'm going to tease him. They lose to the Royals. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee. That's you get 24,000. You get 24,000 for Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, and that's terrible baseball. So why are this what break time already? Jeez,
you're already over, boy.
Man, we got to add to this. We've got to start adding more time.
You spend so much time talking about tailgate food in the first segment every day.
Well, it's just not enough time, period. We need more time to talk. Don't forget, brought to you by our good friends at GoTeen, all part of the Endeavor Hospitality family under the WOW Network. Make sure you go to the WOW Eagle Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Sign up for the WOW Club today. Start earning WOW rewards and points. And you can order things like GoTeen, who is also under that umbrella for a limited time only. GoTeen, a delicious, healthier snack that keeps you going, whether it's you or your active kids, sports athletes. They're offering a Hoosier Pack, 16 count. GoTeen can be any of your favorite flavors for only $15. And if you purchase the Hoosier Pack to sweeten the deal, if you use the special discount code of COIL10, COYLE, the number 1010, you'll receive another 10% off. So purchase your Hoosier Pack. Just go to GoTeenBites.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Speed Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Am I tripping, or did your background just go completely sideways?
It did go sideways.
It did.
I'm thinking you said that.
Didn't it?
Yeah, something hit my damn camera.
I was like, is that
light?
Because Jim still looked like he was upright. It was very odd. I'm like,
Hopefully that happened in the break.
It didn't.
I
don't
didn't see
think
you do it, so here it is.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until you mentioned until you started doing the reads.
Here's our favorite. His name is Bobby. And
Good morning.
He came here with 2 gloves and a club.
What in the hell was that?
Jim's on one this morning, Bob.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm on one today, boy. I've been moving.
Is he going to come back and do the show, Dustin?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's flying pretty high today.
Wow.
He's
Bath
talked about-
salts, huh?
Something's going on. I got somebody. I don't.
Sorry,
know
I'm a little late. I had to do something with Query and Schultz this morning.
It's okay. We were
Query
late
and,
getting the break. So.
Bowen.
Yeah, somebody
All
asked
good.
me how quick or good do you think the Pacers would be if they got Westbrook from the Lakers? As a Pacers fan, I can tell you I do not want that to happen.
Oh, they would buy him out immediately. They would buy him out. So they'd have $47 million to play with.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then there we go. We didn't talk about that yesterday.
We're not on, are we?
No.
Good. Glad to hear.
Like we're on. Just clear. We're on YouTube. We're always live on YouTube.
Okay.
Off radio. Yeah.
Okay. Just I will.
If you see that,
I've
never.
What's
I've
that?
always wondered this from your all's perspective. Can you all see the ticker, the live ticker on the top left screen? You can, Dustin, or can't?
I can.
You see it, Bob?
Yes.
You mean when little notes come over?
No. So like at the top left corner of the screen, there's a timer that's ticking up
21,
that shows how.
42.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you see that, we're live on YouTube.
Okay, gotcha. Hello, YouTube.
Hey, don't worry. Just a couple weeks ago, Jim was dropping F-bombs left and right during
Oh my
the
gosh!
section.
Yeah, during a remote, Jesus.
He was sitting.
The one thing I learned in TV, and maybe the only thing I learned in
10 seconds.
WTHR is the mic is always hot.
Yep.
Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday. We've reached the halfway point. Brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, where tonight you can find the first Tom Allen Coaches Show of the season, as he will be out there, Indiana football coach, beginning that tradition tonight, the Coaches Show at Southern Stone Restaurant. And that will be there for the entirety of the season. And then, of course, basketball will follow as football is starting up on, well, it's already started really, but for the rest of us, it's starting this week. Starts tomorrow night. Bob, we've got Big Ten football tomorrow night.
Indeed, we do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to go come on down to IU and then go to Purdue. I guess Purdue's Friday night, right? Or wait,
Don't Purdue's tomorrow night.
Purdue's tomorrow night and IU is Friday night. So I'll be at both games, and I'll write something Saturday. Just kind of putting both those things into some perspective to the degree that I'm capable of that. And it's fun. I now I don't have to watch HGTV anymore. Football is starting.
I was going to
It's
say
rare
that's got to
that
be
you
exciting.
rare that you can go to an Indiana or a Purdue then an Indiana football game.
What's that?
It's rare that you can go to
Yeah.
both a Purdue and an Indiana football game unless one happened to be at home and playing an early day game, and a late night game at some time.
Yeah. No, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we're going to learn so much about Indiana here in the first week. Well, really, we're going to learn a ton about both teams because, I mean, Purdue coming off a 9-4 season and that incredible bowl win over Tennessee. They got a stud quarterback coming back, which is something that obviously IU doesn't enjoy that advantage. And then we're going to find out a ton about IU because Illinois is pretty much in the same boat. They're coming off a 5-7 season. And IU, to me, and I wrote this in The Athletic today, this is no great insight, but they're a total mystery team with, 13 guys off the portal, 5 new coaches, a new quarterback, presumably, in Connor Bazelak. So we're going to learn a hell of a lot here in the next day or so.
And what's interesting to me about these 2 games, Bob, is that I think from the perspective, at least from the fan standpoint, is that Indiana has a lot more to lose in this game than Purdue does. I mean, you look at Purdue's playing Penn State. It's a non-division game. If you lose that game, you still have a chance. I think people still think Purdue can be pretty good even if they lose to Penn State at home. Whereas on the Indiana side, also, it's not a division game, obviously, but at the same time, if you're not able to get a win over Illinois, as I've said multiple times and starting to sound like a broken record until we see football, you try to find the wins on that schedule with so many teams improving. You wonder where the wins are going to come from if you can't get past Illinois at home.
I agree. I mean, if they beat Illinois, they're going to win 5 or 6 games this year. I think if they lose to Illinois at home, we're looking at another pretty dreadful season. Maybe 4 wins, because again, after you get past these first three games, this schedule gets pretty angry, and so much is going to depend on whether, the offensive line can hold up. So much is going to depend on what Bazelak can give them, assuming he's the quarterback. I think defensively they'll be okay, but boy, it's so hard for me to get rid of the memory of losing 38-6 or 38-3. Whatever it was, to Rutgers at home.
Yeah, that one leaves a mark, man. That was a wooden stake in the heart.
Right. Or another body part. Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty bad. So I think Tom Allen is the right guy for this job. I think he'll get things turned around. But as I said this morning in The Athletic, I don't think that 2020 was a complete fluke, because of the pandemic and the fact that so many teams were down. I think 2021 going, 2-10, I thought that was a fluke.
Yeah.
I think the team they really are, they're closer to the first 3 teams that Tom Allen had. 5-7, 5-7, 8-5, 8-5. So I think they'll return closer to that 5-7 mark, which is not super inspiring, but you think about the recruiting job they did in 2020, those kids will start to come of age, and I think they'll be better as time goes on.
And that's the thing now. And we had the chance to meet with Scott Dolson, the athletic director, Monday, and that one of the things I asked him was about NIL, and that I know that we're talking apples and oranges with basketball and football, and you can't just do everything at once. I get that. And things have kind of been geared towards basketball, and it's easier to get that one going quicker, and it matters more. So, and it would probably be easier to get football going if you already had basketball going. So I see and understand the trajectory. But my question was, is there a plan to start doing things on the football side? And of course there is, and they will, but it'll be interesting to see what that actually turns out to be.
Well, my question would be, if you're an advertiser or you're a business, who do you want to do business with on the IU football team? You got Tywan Mullen, you got a couple of good players, but there's no TJD on that team. Is what I'm saying. I'm not sure that.
Well, it's more about helping to land. I think it's more about helping to land those guys than doing that with them after the fact.
Okay. Yeah. No, I would agree. And look,
and that's not something that the AD can talk about because
it's outside.
The NIL is nothing to do with officially the schools.
Officially, yes.
Yeah.
That was two hands. So where's the other hand? There it is.
Yeah, it was holding my coffee.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, these days you've got to have the infrastructure established to get those kids. I mean, it feels weird being an old guy. Look,
old guy without connection.
Hey,
he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I forgot what the hell I was talking about.
Said your last time I heard you say you were being an old guy.
Oh yeah. Just I believe that these kids should get more than what they're getting. I do believe that. And I'm in favor of NIL. I've always been in favor of NIL since the lawsuit many years ago. But they've got to put themselves in better position to draw these guys. I mean, to bring them in, bring in high caliber guys.
I just don't know. To me, I wonder if that's going to be much of a possibility. I mean, because one of the things I look at Jordan Addison as an example, who left, he had the Biletnikoff winner, had an opportunity, from what we've heard, was offered millions of dollars. And I don't know where the reporting stood on that, but goes to USC and joins Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, all those guys out there. I could see that hindering Indiana. If you get a big time player, who's to stop a booster or somebody from Miami, Florida State, wherever it might be, to come in and try to poach those players with the transfer portal rules? So
right.
I'm not saying doom and gloom, but I'm saying, to me, I don't know how Indiana on the football side is going to be competitive with some of those schools, because now with kind of the wild, wild west going on, somebody has a great season and all of a sudden you've got 30 different boosters or advertisers or whatever who are big Georgia Bulldogs fans hitting up his text line, phone calls, all that stuff. I think it's hard for a school like Indiana to get into that game.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's a little bit sad. I mean, I'm in favor again of the kids getting paid and getting taken care of. But I think it increases the difference between the haves and the have-nots is just going to get exacerbated. You know, it's just going to get worse and worse. And I think that the Georgias and the Alabamas and everybody else, they're just going to start poaching guys who show some promise at the Indiana level or the Illinois level or whatever. You're absolutely right. And so it's going to be tough for a school like Indiana to sustain anything, but they've got to get the right guys in here. And like I said, 2020, they had a terrific recruiting class, so we'll see where that goes.
You know, one of the things that Scott Dolson was also asked about was, we talk about legislation for NIL. Should there be congressional legislation, state laws that helps? And he was asked about that, and he said that from their perspective, they would rather be able to do this without state law intervention, without being limited somehow, which that I get it, because otherwise now you're back to equaling the playing field, and some of these teams don't want you to equal the playing field.
That's exactly right. I do think they need guardrails, whether it's legislative guardrails or NCAA guardrails. This thing could spiral out of control a little bit. I think that's definitely a possibility. As long as those guardrails are up, I don't care if it comes from the NCAA. I don't care if it comes from the legislature. Just as long as everybody's playing on a level playing field throughout the country.
And think about this. You mentioned the NCAA, whether it comes from either or. The difference is you break an NCAA rule, you got nobody chasing nobody. You break a real law, now.
Yeah, now you got problems.
Now we're looking at something completely different in college athletics than we would have ever been looking at before.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point, Jim.
Well, I mean,
I
it
have
didn't
no,
stop Louisville.
What's that?
Didn't stop Louisville. I mean, there's a number of places that broke laws that, for whatever reason, haven't been punished. So I don't know if it would, but I mean, at least there's a little bit
laws
more
or rules, though.
I mean, people went to jail and got arrested, did they not?
Well, that was not Louisville people. That was the Adidas guys.
Okay,
Road code and those folks. But they were doing other things. Yeah, they were all kinds of stuff that they were getting into. But yeah, so and every time we seem to see legislators get involved, it seems like it goes the other way and screws stuff up. Because most of them, 90% of them, have no clue as to this environment and what's going on and how it works and this and that. And they just jump in and, let's make a law. Let me be a part of college athletics all of a sudden.
Right. I agree with you.
I think the biggest thing that if they would just change one thing about the transfer portal, I don't know what the answer is, but to me, the biggest issue is I don't really care how teams recruit. If that's going to be an asset to me, if you have a guy that's willing to offer some of these kids maybe like a commercial deal or whatever, I'm just using that as an example. That's, to me, really not much different than look at the facility that Clemson has or Alabama has compared to a Purdue or an Indiana. I mean, there's a ton of money invested in those. Those offer certain opportunities that other schools can't. So to me, that's not a big difference. But when you're on a campus and you've committed to a team and all of a sudden you've got somebody knocking on your door,
right,
$5 million, to me, that makes a difference. So I think it's got to be something with the transfer portal, because if it's an Indiana kid, that staff went out and recruited, they developed, they got the production, and then he's just going to be able to go. And I understand the argument that coaches do that all the time. So I don't know that blocking transfers is the right answer, but there's got to be some sort of guardrail in that department. And I think that would alone help Indiana quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's up next for you, Bob?
Well, let's see. I got IU and Purdue. Got the Colts getting serious here. They just had their cuts yesterday.
Anybody off get the axe that surprised you?
Yeah. I was a little surprised about Sterling Weatherford, who's the local kid from Cicero in Hamilton Heights High School. He's a linebacker. I was a little surprised he got cut, but I saw earlier in the day they traded for this guy, Grant Stewart from Tampa. So the writing was on the wall. I was a little surprised Desmond Patman made it as opposed to Kiki Kute or Kuti, however he says his name, or Cutie. I think that, I thought they would keep Kiki just for special teams as maybe a backup return man. But nothing really major. I think we all expected that Sam Ehlinger was going to make the roster because they do not want to lose Sam Ehlinger. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter in this league. I may look stupid 5 years from now. Well, I look stupid now, but I think they want to keep him around. So I was a little surprised they kept 3 quarterbacks, but a couple of teams have done that in the league this year. So no major surprises, but four undrafted free agents making the roster is interesting to me.
We'll certainly see how that goes. We've got Purdue tomorrow night, Indiana on Friday, and it's going to be fun next week, man. We're back.
And plenty to talk about next Wednesday.
Cannot wait. Bob, I hope you have a fun travels. I'll see you Friday.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Dustin,
have a great week. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you're a subscriber and give Bob a follow as well if you're not already. Indiana Sports Beat's got plenty more. Cal Neddenriep, Bozich on today as well. Stay tuned. Brought to you by our friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry. You need that championship smile. Go see Dr. J down in Sellersburg. He'll give it to you. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out. Yeah, get some money, Fred, dude.
Hey, maybe we should talk about this.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God!
This is how they're promoting their new music coming out.
They have new music?
Not yet, but there is going to be new music.
Oh,
They've been teasing with.
How about that?
I know. It's been like 5 years, so I'm kind of excited. One of your listeners, Chris Lewis, sent me something on Facebook last night about that.
So I'll get that up in a minute. Oh, Peyton Hendershot made the Cowboys. Yeah, not surprised there. He was killing it.
So Micah McFadden made the Giants roster too.
Did he? Nice.
They're the only two Indiana guys, I believe, that made their rosters, though. Tevin Coleman got cut. Nate Sudfeld got cut.
McFadden made the McFadden was drafted, wasn't he, in the final round?
Let me check. I'm not sure.
I thought he was the only guy that
but I don't know.
I thought he got drafted in the 7th round.
No, I don't think anybody got drafted, but let me see.
Maybe not. I was pretty sure I remember his name, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh, no, he was. He was the number 146 pick. Let me see what round that is. That sounds like 7th round. Oh, it was 5th round.
Fifth round? Okay. I wonder who I was thinking of. Somebody that I thought would be fringe that, I don't know.
Last year, the only one that got drafted was
Sudfeld now with the Lions.
Oh, he did get picked up with somebody. Nice.
5th for McFadden. I wonder who I was thinking of.
Thank you, Ross.
Caleb Jones got cut. Could be who you're thinking of. Offensive lineman, maybe not.
Me?
And he couldn't.
I saw a whole list yesterday from Dustin Dopiric, but I can't remember who else was on it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
It's the Certified Dream Deal Sales Event. Get 0.99% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda Certified Pre-Owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Hump Day, baby. We made it halfway. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com with me as always.
I feel like we're going clubbing with that music. I feel like we're going clubbing. You don't like that?
That's more like jazzercise or what's the thing? The latest craze?
I don't know. Pilates.
Dance. No, they passed that. Whatever the latest exercise thing is.
I feel like you'd be holding like 2 martini.
Neddenriep joining us today. Rick Bozich as well. Looking forward to that as we are. To me, it's the first week of college football. It is week 1, so I can say it's the first week without it being incorrect. Caleb Nose mentioned a kid he coached committed to an SEC school over an independent and multiple ACC options he was considering purely because of NIL and ability to help his family right away. Yep. No surprise there. We were talking about the Matt thinks it's dumb for the Colts to keep the third quarterback. Peyton Hendershot makes the 50-man cut roster for the Dallas Cowboys. Not a surprise there with how he had played. And again, makes you wonder what the hell was going on with Indiana's offense last year. You've got an NFL tight end. You've got a quarterback that is now starting for the University of Washington. Hello.
There are 2 problems. One of them is no longer in Bloomington. The other one
exactly.
The other one is we'll find out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, you talked about last year he had some issues with drops, but again, that whole team was plagued. It wasn't just him that was coming up with issues. It was
it
was everybody.
It just, like I said, it just makes you wonder what was really the issue. So Ross says Nate Sudfeld, former Indiana quarterback Nate Sudfeld, replaced former Boiler David Blau on the Lions squad. Nate Sudfeld, this is his 5th year in the league. I mean, he had 3 years with Philadelphia. Where I don't know where he was last year. Was he still with Philly?
I don't know. Good question.
I can tell you this. He's got one thing that everybody wished they had, and that is what's the word I'm looking for? He's got the pension. He's got the NFL pension.
I tell you what.
What is that word when you I can't think of the word.
Security.
Too many words going through. Once you secure that amount of time. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He's got it. He's going to get an NFL pension.
There you go.
And that is a big time deal.
That is a big time deal.
So, but congratulations to him. He's continuing his career. And that shows you it's tough to make it in this league. Tevin Coleman apparently right now cut. But not that surprising because he's plays one of the most positions that I don't want to call it a dime a dozen, but there's always.
It's a short lifespan for a running back in the NFL.
Unless you are one of the greats, and look how good Tevin Coleman was.
Yeah, he was good in the NFL.
So it shows you how difficult it is. I mean, I loved watching Tevin Coleman run in college. It's like, anytime they handed him the ball, it was a potential 80-yard, 70-yard. It depends on where they were because he led the nation in all those runs. There you go, Rex. Thank you, sir.
Tenure. There we go.
I always know that we have intelligent listeners. And Rex, we haven't seen you pop up before, so we need the intelligence, and he popped in at the right time. Rex, thank you, sir. Tenure, baby. Tenure. Too much information going through my head all the time. And there's another one, vested. Yes. Dwayne, appreciate that. Both of those were the words that I was looking for. But thank you to both. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you mostly for listening. And Scott says this will be Sudfeld's 7th season in the league. How about that? Buddy, you get 7 NFL seasons, you got 2 things. A pension and an assload of money in the bank.
Yeah.
Because if you're an NFL quarterback and you're in your 7th season, even if you're sitting the bench, I don't care, you're making what I would call nice change.
Didn't Jimmy Garoppolo just sign the highest contract ever for a backup quarterback? I don't remember what the figures were, but I think he just
I did not see the numbers.
I can't remember exactly.
I didn't see the numbers, but I think you're right. But congratulations. Tim says ex-coach Marlon Mack was also cut. But Michael McFadden, I forgot to mention him, made the roster. Course, that dude is he's one of those guys you love to watch play, and he gets the opportunity, and it's important for Indiana football for not only these guys to get into the league, but then for them to play, for them to hear the name Indiana during NFL games. How many times you hear Alabama? How many times you hear whatever school? Right. Forget the Alabamas. Those aren't the one it helps. You expect to hear them. But when you hear Louisville, those kind of teams. And look at the recruiting that they're getting done. I still cannot comprehend how in the hell they're 5 left, 16 mil for Jimmy G, baby.
Pretty good cash.
Jimmy G's for Jimmy Golden, baby. Jimmy Golden. Man. I'd call him Jimmy Money.
There you go. I like that.
Jimmy
Money,
Jimmy
Garoppolo.
Money.
Jimmy G's.
Yeah.
I think you to me, I think another big thing for Indiana when you get guys to the NFL is typically, and I don't know what the rankings were coming in because I don't follow recruiting as closely, but there's a developmental process there. You're developing guys. You're not typically getting you've never gotten a 5-star, but you are, you're typically not getting the high-end 4-star guys. You're getting usually 3-star guys, some diamonds in the rough along there, and then you're developing them into NFL level talent. And I think that sends a big message too. Like if we're able to develop guys like Micah McFadden, Peyton Hendershot, you go way back, this isn't the Tom Allen era, but you go back to Tevin Coleman and Nate Sudfeld and some of those other guys. If we're able to develop that kind of talent, that sends a big message too. Like, hey, you know what? We know you're not, maybe you're not a high 4-star or 5-star recruit, but we believe based on what we can do, we can take you from a 3-star rating and turn you into an NFL prospect where you can hear your name called on draft day. That's going to make a big difference. I mean, we talked about NIL and how that makes a big difference, but one way you can counter that is if you can put guys in the NFL, that will make a difference to some of these recruits because that's ultimately their goal, right? So you don't have to put in as many as Alabama or Clemson. You're never going to be able to do that. But if you can consistently get a couple guys each year, 2 to 3, that's going to speak volumes on the recruiting trail.
Yep. I can't wait for football. I'm sorry. I'm just
fired up.
I can't believe they're not having a game tonight.
Yeah. I mean,
because do they still have Tuesday football? They used to have back
in college.
Back when whatever. See, I can't think of a conference. Oh, I think it was the AAC would play their games on Tuesday to get the coverage.
I think they do MAC, and it doesn't start early in the season, I don't think. I think maybe starting in October is when the Fun Belt, the MAC,
Fun Belt, there you go, baby.
Some of those other conferences, they will start playing on like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. But I think for this opening week, I think for the first month or month and a half, I don't think it's till October, but they will start taking over Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights because of what you just said, the coverage.
All right, we got to take a break before I get slapped on the wrist by the boss there, John, the producer. Don't forget, brought to you by our great friends at Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. If you're down in Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison counties in southern Indiana, they have served that area for over 3 decades and know it like no one else. Reach out to Matt Lincoln, matt@barbarapop.com, and he'll get you into the home you want. If you're in the Indianapolis area looking for a home, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax, and her 2 decades of experience definitely will be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
All right, Kyle will be on momentarily.
I'm going to have to jet out at about 9:50.
Sounds good, mate.
The hell are you? Get some shrimp on the Barbie there?
Yep.
No, I'm talking about
golfing.
I'm talking about JTP. He
Oh,
says, sounds good, mate.
Oh,
Without the accent.
Get
So
out,
is
mate.
Rick B 950?
Yes.
All right. I definitely want to keep this tight.
We run a tight ship here on Indiana Sports Beat.
That's right.
Well, when it has to be.
Yeah, Maction and the Fun Belt.
Maction. Hey, I like that.
The two
Larry
best
G.
nicknames in college football.
You know, I have not heard that. I've not heard either of those.
You have
honestly,
not?
But I know.
Maction's been using that for at least 5 years.
Dude, I would be all over that if I was them. That is awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
They do a good job with their marketing. Fun Belt's a little bit more recent.
Yeah. The Fun Belt has gotten a little more fun over the years, though. They've added some decent teams, haven't they?
Yeah, I think App State, Coastal Carolina, some of those teams, maybe Georgia Southern's in there.
Mm-hmm. Tim, believe it or not, I have never been to Red River Gorge, so I cannot give you a bar in that area that the IU game will be on. I can take a guess, though, that if it's since it's a Friday night game, you could probably go to most bars and see it on with less games on Friday.
Brother, that's what I can tell you exactly where. It's called YouTube TV. But you
No,
won't
he's
be able
saying
to
he's
get
going to
it.
be at a bar.
He's going out.
Well, he's still going to have to use his phone. They're not. Do you think a bar in Kentucky gives a rat's ass about?
They care
Indiana
about
football?
college football. They'll have something on. They'll have something because if U of L and UK aren't playing, they won't just play nothing.
Yeah, but are there other games on Friday night?
There's some, but there's not like a bunch of other local teams. Anyway, here we go.
Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Of course, one of the great places under the umbrella of Endeavor Hospitality and the Wow Club. Make sure you stop by. They're located right next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers, offering an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff. They take their pairing seriously. They also provide a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, coffee bar, and all pastries that are mouth-watering and ready for you to take out. Make sure you stop by. And don't forget to join the WOW Club. Go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Start earning WOW rewards today. Eat, drink, and earn. Oh, yeah, they got some great stuff there. I'm still thinking about the sausages and BBs, baby, as we welcome Kyle. Kyle, have you ever had a blueberry sausage?
I'm not sure. I wasn't expecting that question right off the bat.
I bet I did. I was not expecting to eat one last night, but I did, and it was very. I'm going to get some for you. It's
yeah.
They're awesome. It's crazy. I'm like going when I saw that. I'm like going, who the hell thought of that? And now I'm like, whoo, I'm glad they thought of that. It's good.
I don't know that I wouldn't be against it. I'll say that.
It's shockingly good. I'm telling you, it does not taste weird or bad. You're like, oh my. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well,
Kyle Neddenriep.
You've never steered me wrong before, Jim. So
I would never do that, my friend. You're too much of a hard worker. Kyle Neddenriep, the Indy Star, joining us now. And you talk about I've always say this, the busiest man in sports, probably in covering sports in this state. I will guarantee you that. And I know how busy I am. And I can say that about Kyle. And man, it has started with the college or the high school football season. And we're into week 3, first of all, which again, after this weekend, a third of their season will be over, Kyle, a third of their regular season.
Yeah, it always seems like the summer kind of it takes a while. I don't know if it feels that way or not, but it does to me. And then once you get started, it's bang bang bang. So, yeah, we're before we know it, we'll be writing our mid-season reports and all that sort of thing. But yeah, the first 2 weeks have definitely flown by, and it's been enlightening. I think we're gearing up for some pretty good stuff here once the tournament starts.
One negative, I see that Cardinal Ritter had to cancel a game with Brebeuf due to low numbers, and Brebeuf they won a big game in week 1, didn't they? Or did they get beat?
Yeah. They let's see, they lost to Chittard, and then
that's what it was.
They had a good win last year. I forget now who they played, but they were a state finalist last year. So I caught up with the Cardinal Ritter AD yesterday, and people around Indianapolis know that that's been a 5-time state championship program at the smaller school level. They've been a powerhouse, and not even I think it was 16 or 17 was their latest state championship. So for people to see that they have to cancel a game, it's sort of a head scratching, I think. So wanted to catch up with their AD, just say what's the I know some of the background on it and the reason for it, but what's the deal here? And they did have their numbers from last year. They had a coaching change basically 2 years ago, and it's not their coach's fault who's there now, but he's trying to build the program back up. They have had some of their feeder schools haven't produced numbers like they used to, and then some of those kids have gone elsewhere, like Chittard. So part of that's part of it, and then. They had a rash of it. They were at 35 kids to start the year, really 31 because a couple, kids weren't eligible, a couple kickers basically. So they're down. Then they had 10 injuries the first 2 weeks. They're down to 21. And then they, playing Brebeuf, they only had basically 4 or 5 linemen, and you're playing Brebeuf, who's really good, and they're, like I said, they're state finalists last year, bigger, a little bit bigger school than Ritter. So, in the interest of safety, basically it came down to, hey, we're not going to be able to play because it's just not going to be a safe situation, and we want to be able to play the rest of the season. And, so that's kind of what it came down to. And I know a lot of people on social media are just, they believe it's conspiracy or, whatever. It's kind of the world we live in, but, that wasn't necessarily the case. It's just, they had 21 kids and they couldn't play that game. They lost 71-0 last week. So, I mean, it's just, if you want to play the rest of your season, you can't just put your kids at risk like that. They don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that. They still have some good players on their team and they want to play the game, but realistically, it just wasn't going to be able to happen this week.
I understand. I remember when I was in college, I coached high school, and I was still at Floyd Central. And I remember we went over to play St. Xavier, who was one of the powerhouse Catholic schools there. And we had like 27 kids on the freshman team, and their locker room was right by the football field, their football field, which was basically their practice field. But anyway, they come out of the door to start one after one running, and they're running along the end zone, and then they turn to come down to the field, and they're going down, and they go down to the goal line to go 5 deep. And as they hit the goal line, they're still coming out of the locker room. And that's because every freshman was required to play a sport. And I'm like, you're looking across the field, every hash mark is 5 deep. And you look over here and you're like, you could maybe get to the 20. I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah. So I agree. I understand. So hate to see that. And also another a sad note, but it turned into a motivational win, I guess, with Whiteland knocking off Lawrence North. That's a big time win for Whiteland. Of course, that came after a very horrific scenario with Tamario Stokes Jr. was shot and killed at a school bus stop.
Yeah, that was basically the morning before the game. And I checked in with Whiteland. They canceled basically everything on that Thursday. And they said, they wanted to play Friday, and they did. And they surprisingly, like you said, I don't think people expected that. Whiteland's a 5A program, Lawrence North 6A, and they Whiteland does run. They run like I don't know what it's sort of like a wishbone, flexbone type offense where they have, multiple running backs. It's a different type of a style. It's hard to prepare in a week for that type of a team. And I think that probably played a factor, and that's why they win. They're a consistent winner in football there. So that was part of it. And I think, Lawrence North, they lost quite a bit from last year too, but huge win for that program. And a game that, was supposed to be played last year. They had a COVID situation. It was one of the COVID games. They weren't able to play it last year. So they play it this year, and Whiteland gets a huge win. And now they play this week at Decatur Central, and that's a huge game in the Mid-State Conference. But yeah, kind of a pick-me-up for that school after obviously a really tragic situation last week.
Looking up forward to this week, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it's kind of last week we had so many big games, with the Brownsburg Cathedral. Brownsburg got a big win there, 42-35, and Center Grove beat Carmel in a really good game, 31-27. That went right down to the wire. Center Grove kept their 30-game winning streak alive. So there's not as many probably what you'd say just huge marquee games as there was last week. But there are some really good competitive matchups, and one of them is Center Grove. They go down to Louisville Trinity, which Trinity's coming off a loss to Cincinnati Moeller pretty handily last week. So that may speak to just how good, Moeller's traditional power, obviously. So that may speak more to that than anything. But Center Grove, again, trying to, get past and get another, get to the 31 consecutive wins. So I think that'll be an interesting game. I think Roncalli and Chittard, a game I'll actually be at, will be a really good one. Chittard ranked number 1 in 3A, and Roncalli is now number 2 in 4A. They're right behind New Pal, which is blowing the doors off everyone to start the season. But that's always a good rivalry. Should be a huge crowd. So those are a couple of the better games. And I mentioned Whiteland, Decatur Central, and Noblesville Fisher's another good one. Noblesville's 2-0. They started last year 2-0, then lost all the rest of their games. So that'll be interesting to see. They're a huge offensive line at Noblesville. They love to run the ball. So we'll see what happens there. And the Battle of Lawrence is another good one, Lawrence North and Lawrence Central. So we got some interesting games, I think, and, kind of gearing up for, probably be some better games next week and the week after. But there are still some good ones on the schedule this week.
Yeah, and you had a piece mentioning that Purdue fans should be happy especially if you're happy about talent staying within the state. Jeff Brom has done a good job of that. I've talked about that. I don't think Indiana is going to make a move until they can start solidifying some in-state core linemen, whether it's defensively, both offensively and defensively, because they do a poor job of that. And there's a mention that you talked about Cathedral defensive lineman Kendrick Gilbert, who's a 4-star. And I agree. Indiana has to start getting these kinds of guys, and they just don't. They don't get the big time linemen in this state. And I don't know. Well, part of it's just tradition. They're not that good. And then this Florida, the Florida pipeline, which is a great thing because it brings in great talent. But I wonder if at the same time, if it's also hurting Indiana with in-state talent.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to quantify exactly. And I'm always kind of, the longer I do this, the more I think, we kind of get caught up in like, you got to lock down the state and and I sort of think there's more of that as perception probably and momentum. To me, like if Indiana goes 8-3 and you're starting all guys from Florida, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where they come from if you're successful. But there is some truth to what you're saying because there is some real momentum, I think, right now for Purdue. And these guys I talked to Winston Berglund this summer, Carmel safety, and he was already committed to Purdue. And we were just doing a photo shoot and just talking to him. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm working on Gilbert. I'm working on, he was talking about some other guys that he knows. So, those guys all talk. They're all, sort of connected. Dylan Thieneman was another one who he's from Westfield, ended up committing also to Purdue. So right, they all, in his and there's another, Will Helt is a kind of a defensive end outside linebacker, about 6'6" for Carmel. He's a really good play. He's also in that Purdue class. So there is I would say momentum, or you could say connection, I would say, because those in-state guys know each other and oftentimes obviously talk about recruiting. And not to say that always is going to work out that way, but it also depends on the position you play if there's openings there. But right now, you get Kendrick Gilbert, who they were battling LSU, Kentucky. There's some real challenges there, and now he's, I think, the highest rated in-state guy that they have in their class. They have 18 guys in that class. I mentioned Will Helt and Berglund, and they have George Buren from Mount Vernon, Thieneman from Westfield, and then Jerron Tibbs at Cathedral, and TJ McWilliams from North Central, both receivers who are very talented players, especially Tibbs, who, good basketball player too, but McWilliams kind of an underrated guy. So they've got all kinds of different positions. And like you mentioned, it's always hard to get linemen, and that's a big get, because they were battling some high profile teams for Gilbert.
What are you expecting this week? What are you doing? Where are you heading?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to that Roncalli Chittard game, and got a story just came out. Pike coach Mike Brevard, kind of, we talked last week about his story. He was homeless as a teenager and younger, came from Virginia. He's got quite a backstory. So if people want to check that out, I think that just published this morning online. But really kind of he's only 30, and you talk to him and it seems like he's much, much older, but had a mentor in his life, Dennis Goins, who longtime teacher. He was in the media scene, TV person, so people around here know him, know who he is. A lot of people do anyway. And he became kind of a big mentor in Mike's life, and still is. He's very close to him. He's almost like his son. So, kind of a cool story. Pike is definitely they're getting better. They're 0-2, but very competitive their first 2 weeks, and I think he'll do well leading that program.
It is a great story. Make sure you go to the Indy Star and read that. Follow Kyle and be a subscriber. I am. Keep local papers alive for stories just like this that you can keep finding out. Kyle, I can't thank you enough, man. Hope you have fun this weekend.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You bet. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and we've got plenty more. Rick Bozich coming up next, brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, a part of the WOW Network and Endeavor Hospitality. Metalworks Brewing Company's culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art, alongside a desire to be actively involved in the Bloomington community. Recently launched in June of 2022, Metalworks Brewing Company has been in the works for several months, preparing to transition from a staple in Bloomington to former Function Brewery. Go there now and check it out. We've got lots more coming up right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
All right. I'm headed out.
Goodbye, Duddy.
Later. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and I guess I'll see John this evening. What time?
That's
8?
right. Yeah, we're shooting for 8-ish.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, see you.
Later.
Based on when we broke, Rick will probably be joining either right when we come back or right after we get into the segment. And speaking of the devil, here he is. Morning, Rick.
Good morning. Just trying to get a few things done before I logged on.
Oh, you're good.
What's new? What's the mood up there?
I mean, me as a non-reporter fan, I'm excited. I'll be up on Friday night.
I'm coming.
It's shrouded in mystery, baby.
I just heard 2 national guys on ESPN saying they're going strong with Illinois.
Everybody's going strong with Illinois if they're a national guy.
Yeah, it'd be hard to pick Indiana. They haven't played, and last time you saw them play, it was.
What about tomorrow night? What's the sense
For Purdue?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them knock Penn State off.
Right.
And that would be gigantic for Purdue. Holy moly. And I was just talking about with Kyle Neddenriep about their, Jeff's got it going on with in-state, Indiana in-state. And it's not just the
skill position,
skill players.
Right.
And that's without NIL. 1-2-824-4040 or visit eaglepoint.com. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. An exceptional golf and dining experience.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Joined now by Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. How are you, sir?
Good. Getting ready for the real start of college football season. And like we've been talking about for months, for me, there's it's a very interesting 3 nights in a row. You got Jeff Brom and Purdue against Penn State tomorrow night. They're a small underdog, I believe, but seem to be a little bit of a trendy pick. Friday night, obviously, Indiana plays. I'll be up there. I'll see you up in the old press box. And then Saturday, Louisville plays at Syracuse, where surprisingly they're only a 4.5-point favorite against a team they've beaten 71-3 the last 2 seasons. I don't understand that. And Kentucky, without 2 starters, will play against Miami of Ohio.
Oh, Kentucky's the only easy opener. Purdue, Penn State, that ought to be a fun game. Penn State, not ranked, which is very unusual for them, especially I keep saying this, they've got a 4-year starter at quarterback, man. I can't believe that, that they have that, but obviously they're lacking in some other areas. Maybe we'll find out, but I think Purdue knocks off. Purdue always has that big game deal whether it's Ohio State and Jeff Brom, from a coaching standpoint, I'm sure he gets jacked, but he doesn't get nervous. He's been in these moments so many times as a player, much less as a coach, as an assistant coach and as a head coach. He loves these moments. And I would maybe be surprised if Purdue doesn't knock off Penn State.
Yeah, Jeff Brom's a big preparation guy. This is the ultimate preparation game you've had since all of last season to get ready for it. And, there's a ton of pressure on Penn State. Let's remember last year, James Franklin threw his name in the hat for LSU and Southern Cal, and pretty sure he got his salary jacked up there pretty high, and they didn't have a very good year. He's also the coach that stuck with Clifford and watched Will Levis go to Kentucky, where he's now considered by most people a better quarterback. And he's coming in with an unranked team. And if they lose, that's a rabid fan base. And they see themselves as being several notches below Ohio State now and probably a notch behind Michigan. Michigan moved ahead of them last year. That's a ton of pressure on Penn State in this game. My only question about Purdue is every team loses guys, but they lost 2 studs. Karlaftis has been really good for the Chiefs in the preseason. Looks like he's going to be a great NFL player. And David Bell was a phenomenal receiver for Purdue for 3 years. Plus Milton Wright, the kid from Louisville, who probably would have moved into the number one receiver slot, is no longer on the team. So that's some major holes that Jeff needs to fill, and Brian Brom, the offensive coordinator. But I agree with you. I think Purdue's going to win the game.
And that brings up some similarities with Indiana. They lose Micah McFadden, who made the 50-man 3 roster as on the NFL team. On the other side, Peyton Hendershot makes it with Dallas, but they didn't use him. He didn't.
Well, it was day all year last year. That guy needs targets every game.
And I said, so you had an NFL tight end that didn't get used much. Now he did drop some passes, but it makes you, and you have an NFL linebacker, and you have to ask yourself, why were you 2-10? But that goes on to deeper stories.
To me, it's a monstrous game for Indiana. I mean, we've talked about this also now since spring football. You squandered all the buy-in, all the excitement, all the buzz you had a year ago. People right now have either tuned out or they're on the fringe of saying, I'm going to watch the first game and see how it goes. And you're playing, with Northwestern beating Nebraska. Illinois, one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the other division. You get them at home. And I know they look good against Wyoming, but Indiana has to win. To change the vibe around the program, they have to win the game. A close loss would be maybe tolerated, but if they get beat the way they got beat last year in all those Big Ten games, it's going to get dismal right off the start.
Who's in well? I think I know the answer to this. I was going to say, who's in a worse place, Tom Allen or Scott Frost?
Scott Frost is in a worse place because his buyout
every game, because they're talking about him every quarter. Forget about every game; it's every quarter they're following him.
Yeah, and he made that decision on the onside kick and got blasted nationally, and people are already calling for his job. He's number 1 on the hot seat list, and they got 78,000 or 80,000 seats to fill out there, and they used to be national championship contender, and now they've drifted to pretty much irrelevance. So there's more on him. But, and I'll say this, I'll tell you right now, if Indiana goes into Lincoln and beats Scott Frost, I think his buyout goes down the next day. That will be his last game as the coach at Nebraska.
I guarantee you. I've said that because, and that sounds crazy. We have to wait to see what happens Friday night, but it is a possibility because Indiana, if they win the first game, they definitely should be 3-0 and going to Cincinnati with a shot to get some. That would be unbelievable momentum. Then you would be 4-0 going to Lincoln. Whew. Yeah, that would be.
That's another game I'm really curious to watch. Cincinnati, I think, plays at Arkansas. I think it's at Arkansas. I know they play Arkansas. Whether it's in Fayetteville or not, I don't know. But that's a fascinating game. I think Arkansas is favored by 6 or 7. Just to see how good they are. I mean, everybody's given Cincinnati a lot of love. They lost 10 dudes, I think, to the NFL draft or in NFL camps, including their 3 or 4 very best players. The DB was a high pick. Sauce Gardner, Desmond Ritter's been decent for the Falcons at quarterback. They're doing the same game that so many coaches are doing right now, is not naming their starting quarterback. So there's a lot of uncertainty around Cincinnati, but that's a game I want to see how good Cincinnati is.
Yeah, they play Arkansas, as you said, at Arkansas, which is ranked number 19 right now, this Saturday at 3:30. So that'll give you an opportunity to see what they have. And then they have their two non-cons. Well, their entire season's basically like non-con. There's that. But I'm looking forward to football being back, period. We met with the coaches, the coordinators this week, even Scott Dolson. They were all there, and Tom Allen. There's a lot of pressure going on him personally because of he got the contract moved up, extended, and with, like you mentioned, all the goodwill and all of that just poof evaporated just that quickly last year. A lot of pressure on him to keep that going.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of pressure on him to show that they've actually improved the offense. I mean, I believe that in conference games last year they averaged 11 points per game. I mean, this is an era where you got to average 25 to 30, man. So they've got all except for the offensive line, which wasn't good. It's all new dudes, and I'd be shocked if it's not Bazelak. I think he's got to be the pick. You want to see how good Sean Shivers is. Is the kid named Henderson, the running back from Josh
Henderson? Yeah,
North Carolina. Is he
Emery Simmons, the wide receiver?
Line out. You want to see how good Cam Camper is. You
go to WDRB.com. Rick's got an article up, and he's got all these guys listed. You've got Bazelak, Sean Shivers, Josh Henderson, Emery Simmons from North Carolina, wide out from North Carolina, Addison Colby from Tennessee, a wide receiver, Tevis from Cal, a defensive tackle, Jackson from UCLA, a defensive end, Bradley Jennings from Miami, a linebacker. Listen to those names. And Jared Casey from Kentucky, a linebacker. But every one of those schools that these guys have come from are SEC, ACC, Pac-12, ACC, SEC. These are all coming from programs that play big time. So there should definitely be some help on the way for Indiana.
Yeah, and most of them I went back and looked they were legitimately highly ranked recruits. And Casey, the linebacker from Kentucky, was the number one ranked recruit in his class in 2019. He initially committed to Oregon and then decommitted and went to UK. I'm pretty sure Miles Jackson was a highly ranked recruit. He wanted to go out and play for UCLA. Jennings, I think, isn't he a fifth-year guy who played quite a bit at Miami? I mean, I'm not sure any of them are going to be like difference makers, but I think they all, what Indiana needs is them all to be solid, dependable guys, that can stay on the field and be counted on to make basic plays. The difference makers, in my opinion, are going to have to be on defense. Mullen at cornerback is back healthy. We saw how good he would be. Jalen Williams can be a difference maker. He had a lot of picks a couple of years ago. That's the stat we come back to that was such a dramatic fall off last year where they were a great turnover margin team in 2020, and they were one of the worst in the country last year in turnover margin. You would hope this year it would gravitate towards the middle of the pack instead of you don't expect a year like 2020 is extraordinary and there's some luck involved, but you can't have it be what it was last year because the other thing is because you have an offense that can't sustain drives, and when you have an offense that can't sustain drives, you can't put them in terrible field position, and secondly, you have to have a team that can deliver some explosive plays, and they had very few explosive plays last year. So if you can't sustain drives and you don't have any explosive playmakers, you get the kind of offense Indiana had last year. But I don't know. Last year was just so, when the way they were getting beat by Rutgers and Purdue, and it's just hard to forget how non-competitive they were in a number of those games.
Well, one of the things that I kind of forget about too that I didn't mention earlier, I talked about Micah McFadden being in the NFL, but the defense, that was I think that was kind of an anomaly. They had the talent to be way better than they were on defense, but they had the talent to be way better than they were on offense because their quarterback from last year is now starting at Washington. Their tight end is now in the NFL. So that's the stuff that I'm talking about. But they didn't, as you mentioned in your piece, they didn't have the line to use it that much.
I think two things. I think the defense at some point got discouraged because
they were always in a horrible position.
Always in a horrible position. They knew the offense couldn't score. And I also think, the way he left so quickly for a lesser job, Charlton Warren at some point, it seemed like he checked out as the defensive coordinator when you read those stories in the aftermath, like his family never moved to Bloomington and he lived in camper or something. Like that doesn't really deliver a lot of
Faith.
enthusiasm to the troops that your defense. And he didn't call the kind of defense that Tom Allen likes to run, and we see the response in two different ways. A, Tom Allen is now heavily back involved in the defense, and B, the guy they replaced him with is Chad Wilt, who's more of a Tom Allen type personality. I mean, Charlton Warren was a secondaries coach, I believe, at Georgia. Hey, you got all 5 stars. You got all the dudes in the world there. If you want to just have a more methodical, disciplined approach at Georgia, you can do that. But that's not going to work at Indiana because you're not going to out-talent people most of the time. You have to scheme it up and you have to motivate. And that team last year, I thought they didn't play with the edge on defense that they played the year before. The year before they had some swagger, and last year once they had some rough times, the swagger was gone.
And look at the takeaways. The takeaway difference was unbelievable. They
Right.
did have a lot of injuries, not having Tywan Mullen for most of the year hurt, and several other guys. But the defense just didn't do what it needed to do. We'll find out this year what that's going to be like. I know in the picks, you've got them going 4-8. I see them a little bit better than that. I don't know if they can get to 6-6, but if they can, it all rides on Illinois starting. It starts there. It starts and ends with this game.
How can you build a path to 6-6 if you don't beat Illinois? I mean, you're going to you give them the two you give them are Idaho and Western Kentucky, since they're both at home. They clobbered Idaho last year. Western Kentucky, watching the first game, they got some players, but they're not the team they were last year. Okay. Then after that, I mean, at Cincinnati, they're going to be an underdog. At Nebraska, they'll probably be a slight underdog. And then what's after? I mean, what other games are they going to be favored the rest of the year? At Rutgers smoked them last year. Maryland, I mean, there's not going to be many games the rest of the year they're even going to be favored, is there? I mean, I'm not trying to be, like I said, Captain Doomsday, but if you just look at the schedule, honestly, I mean, I don't think there's going to be 4 games they're going to be favored unless they win the first 3 and beat Cincinnati, then they could be. But that's taking a leap of faith I'm not ready to take.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. What else? What are you looking forward to starting with tomorrow night? I know the Purdue game's on, but without anything else that you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
You know, there's, I think, 3 big games. Notre Dame at Ohio State, and Buckeyes at favorite, I think, by 17 or 17.5. And I think they've pretty much set the bar this year as national championship or bust. Notre Dame first regular season game for Marcus Freeman, who's a former Ohio State player, new quarterback. I want to see that one. Georgia, I think, plays Oregon in Atlanta also on Saturday. That, is an interesting game because Georgia's the defending national champ, lost their defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, and he's the head coach at Oregon. So that'll be interesting. And the third one is, for obvious reasons, as I mentioned earlier, the Arkansas-Cincinnati game. I want to see how good Cincinnati is. Cincinnati was the darlings of college football last year, and now they got to do what the really elite programs do. Is doesn't matter which guys you lose, you're still good the next year. You're still at least a top 25 team. Does Luke Fickell have Cincinnati in a position where he can sustain all those losses and still remain a top 25 team? And because Indiana plays them in week 4.
We'll certainly find out, man. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you on Friday night under the lights.
Were you surprised? Scott Dolson said they're expecting 42,000. I mean, that's more than I thought.
But I wouldn't expect the AD to say much less. You've got to create.
Yeah, but you can't jack it up too high and then only have 35,000 show up, because then you're going to look bad.
It is a night game. The only thing that worries me is that it's a Friday night game.
Right.
And, there's only 2 high schools in Bloomington, but that's probably going to if you're coming to the football game, I guess you're coming to the football game.
I think you'll lose some fans from Indianapolis. They're going to go to high school football games up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's that. I didn't even think about that as well. So
what was the general takeaway just from his press conference? Was it good?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I asked him about the NIL stuff. Are they going to switch over to there? And he's very positive about where the program's going. He's very positive about everything, but he always is. But he also is acknowledging that there's challenges for them. But there was nothing negative that he mentioned that he talked about. But he was pretty open about everything that everyone asked him. And I think that he knows that basketball is coming, and that has to happen. I think in Indiana, basketball has to be good, or nobody gives a crap about anything else. It doesn't matter. So that has to be the focus, and I get that. That's why that every player, virtually every player on that team has an NIL deal with Hoosiers for Good, the big one. And I asked him about, is there a plan to start doing that for football? And of course, yeah, there is, but they can do one thing at a time. But how, affecting football is a lot different than how you can affect basketball. Hugely different, especially at a school like Indiana. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be very interesting. To me, it's one of the most. To me, it's the most interesting. Well,
toughest challenge.
Purdue, Penn State, and Indiana, Illinois are two of the most 5 or 10 interesting games on the card this weekend. They really
Can't
are.
wait to look forward to seeing them all, buddy. Look forward to seeing you too.
All right. See you up in the press box.
The great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you give him a follow. If you're not, you're crazy if you're not. He's one of the greatest writers in the country. But DJ, Derek Jackson joining us when we come back. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Stop by if you're down in the area on I-60, right off of I-65. Pizza, burgers, beer. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting. Look at DJ sitting back relaxing.
Hey, good morning, John. How you doing, man? Jim,
morning. How you doing, DJ?
Brother.
Good, bro.
Hey,
using your phone.
Yeah,
I'm sideways.
Using phone, man. Let's see, does that work better?
There we go. Yep.
Okay.
Gives us a full camera shot that way.
Yeah, good, man. How you guys doing?
Great. How about yourself, man?
Good, man. I tell you, boy, you don't need to even ask me how I feel about this upcoming season. Super excited. First game we got Illinois in the house. And every game is very, very important for Indiana, starting that very first game.
You got that? Oh, yeah. My coffee's ready. You got that right. Oh, man.
I'll be up there this Friday, DJ.
Well, you going to Bloomington?
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine who's an Illinois fan, and they're playing Illinois, obviously, so that'll be fun to experience.
Yeah. I just, I'm really, really hoping that these guys are able to have a winning season, and I think really that's just the first step. We're not even talking Big Ten championship, but without even talking.
No, don't even say those words. Don't even say those words.
No, man, no. So I mean, we'll see what happens. So what you guys been up to? Just getting basketball out the way and bringing football into the forefront.
Yeah, now that recruiting's up pretty much, I mean, it's not completely done, but now that basketball recruiting is kind of rearing its head, everything's kind of looking towards football right now.
Right. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I remain cautiously optimistic about this season. I really do. Because when you take a look at our depth, take a look at what we have on the roster, are we competitive? It remains. I'm a Hoosier fan, so I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes to everything. But we only hope that these guys are. We only
save the rest. We've already come back, so
okay.
Don't share your all your thoughts with us just yet.
Okay, I sure won't, man. I sure won't. So did you take any vacation this summer, John, or anything like that?
I did. My wife and I went to North Carolina back in June.
Okay, I was
at
trip.
Carolina Beach.
Okay, how was that trip?
It was good. I hadn't been to that beach before, so it was pretty cool.
Good. Yeah, North Carolina, man. I was in the military up there in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Some time. Yeah, it's North Carolina. It's a pretty nice state, man. It's not bad at all.
10 seconds, Jim.
Okay.
Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, how's it going? It is Wednesday. We've made it halfway. It's Hump Day here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined out by Derek Jackson. DJ, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Good. I tell you what, man, it's been a while since we connected, but this football season is now upon us, so we'll be connected a while here, man. I'm just really excited about seeing these guys and what they're going to do, how Coach Allen has approached the season, and this first game, man, is going to be really key to the season here this coming week.
We'll certainly find out. Don't forget, we'll get brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill. They pride themselves on providing their guests with fresh, innovative dishes designed to please their palate and your wallet. Every item on their menu is made from scratch using only the freshest ingredients, and they're a part of the Wow Club. Make sure you go there and join that. DJ, are you headed up to this game?
Not this game.
It's not this game. Okay, I
couldn't
remember.
Not this one. I mean, that was the plan. Had some things come up that I got to take care of. But man, Michigan, look to see me. Michigan, homecoming, look to see me, buddy.
Cannot wait. Looking forward to this entire weekend, actually. The only bad thing about being at a game for me is there are so many games that I don't get to see.
Right.
And I hate that. But the try to record the ones that I do want to see. But there's nothing better than actually being at a game, though. So,
interesting. Like I said.
Oh no, I don't think anybody beat around the bush, James. That offense was trash last year. I'm not hiding it. I've said it plenty of times. It was horrible. It stunk.
Yeah.
It sucked. It was terrible.
It did.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
It did.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So I'll say, don't worry. But it wasn't terrible because they didn't have the talent.
Right. So now this year, you'll probably see more realists start looking at the coaching, if you will. We're looking at the recruiting. I mean, these are all off-season issues that should be addressed. Coach Allen has addressed them. Obviously, the best he could with the talent on the sideline. Like you said, Jim, we had the talent on the roster as far as players, but let's just be honest. Did we have the right people on the sidelines? That's my question.
Well, that's a big question, and that's kind of going to get answered.
Yeah.
But right now, I think that the changes, most of them have been positive.
Right.
Just from Chad Wilt, I can tell that he's talking to him. You can tell he's a defensive coach and not an offensive coach.
Right.
You can tell that by talking to him. But I don't know much about what the offense is going to be other than a guess. I mean, I think I'm pretty close to this guess.
Right.
Rick Bozich was just on with us. He thinks that Connor Bazelak is going to be the guy. I've said Bazelak all along. But that's just because of it's different, and you're not going to train. He was a freshman of the year in the SEC. You're not transferred in to be second, but that doesn't always mean. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tom Allen went with Jack Tuttle, because Tom Allen has shown he's loyalty sometimes comes in front of other things, I think, from what I have seen sometimes. So I wonder if that will play into it. So we'll find out when whoever runs out onto the field. It's going to be interesting to see who that is. But I think also because of the style of offense, I think that they're going to have to run, because I don't know, because we haven't seen anything. We've been locked out, which is cool. I would do the same thing. I get it. I'm not complaining. I get it. I would have done the same thing. You've got to use any advantage you can now, because you don't have many advantages anymore, especially with in these days of media. But it's going to be certainly going to be interesting, because you saw what happens, how quickly one call can change not just the momentum of the game, but your season. Look at Scott Frost in that onside kick he called against Northwestern. Not only did that change the game, that may have changed their entire season. That may have just done him in. We have to wait to see how that goes forward. But that one decision could do that. So we'll have to see what happens Friday night under the lights, man.
Yeah. I've been thinking about a lot of different scenarios. I mean, could Coach Allen go by quarterback by committee? Is that a possibility? Yes, possibility. But I think these quarterbacks that we have now are situational quarterbacks. Passing, I haven't seen Bozich very much. Yes, he comes from the SEC, but skills from one conference to the other are not always transferable. So we hope that his accolades. I mean, that's all we have to. That's all he has to rest on right now. Bozich is his accolades. So we hope that he gets you. I think he's the guy. But again, Jack Tuttle, he is a very, very valuable, competitive number one, number two quarterback. So we'll see, like you said, from that standpoint, what happens. Then our O-line has to be intact, man. It's going to start in the trenches, and you know that just as well as I do, Jim.
Absolutely. And everything, the importance, I've seen some people say, well, no, this is the first game. You can't say that the entire season's riding on it. Bull crap. Yes, it is, because of who the game is against, because of how the season is laid out, because of how the schedule is laid out, because of what that does to momentum, because of just so many things. There's a lot of reasons why. If this was another game, no, I probably wouldn't be saying that. Well, but you can't lose to a non-conference game, of course. But no one would expect that. But that's the reason that it's being said. It's because of all these different things that lay out there.
Yeah. I just remember Coach Mallory, every game that we played, he would tell us that we need to go out and set the tone. Okay. Every game, you have a 10-game schedule, but you play games individually. So your season, to me, this is my thought process, and this is how we thought. Our season rides on every game that we play. And I think the players going to have to play with that mentality that, hey, listen, I don't care if you're playing Idaho. I don't care if you're playing Bloomington Community College. Listen, man, we did not live up to expectations last year. We got to do that this year, and that starts with every single game that we play.
Absolutely. So what are you expecting to see?
Well, I tell you, man, I'm expecting to see. I'm expecting for us to have a good game from the ground standpoint, a good ground game. I'm not so.
That would involve Sean Shivers, the transfer from Auburn.
Right. I'm expecting us to have a good ground game because the trenches. Let me tell you something, man. You're going to be able to tell the tempo in the flow of this game from the first 3 or 4 series that we're on the field. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'd say the first 2 or 3. Because we're going to be able to tell, they're going to be able to tell if we can run against football teams. We're going to be able to tell. And let me tell you, Jim, the Big Ten and your fans know this. This is smash mouth football, baby. Okay, I don't care how you look at it. All this pass happy stuff, that's great. But in the Big Ten, it is won in the trenches.
Well, absolutely, and that line is going to be tested in their first game. That is a big question mark for Indiana.
Right.
Last year, the weakest link on the team was the offensive line.
Right.
This season, the most veteran unit returning is the offensive line.
Right.
Now, can that experience help alleviate some of those problems from last year? We'll have to wait and see, but it was a big problem. And if they are not functioning well, then I think that's going to be why, though, you're going to see a quick hitting, moving offense. I think this is no huddle. It's not going to be stand back in the pocket all the time.
Right.
I think this offense is going to move out. I think there's going to be rollouts. You're going to have outside swing passes, a lot of hitting the slot guy, and then trying to maybe lull him asleep, go deep. But it's going to be boom, boom, boom. I think it's going to have to be a lot of boom, 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 so they don't have to rely on the offensive line is long.
Right,
You
right,
put
right,
a little
right.
little less pressure on them.
Right.
They could, because let's be honest, the Indiana offensive line is not rated as well as most of the teams. 80% of the teams are going to play in the Big Ten.
Right.
And that's just, it is what it is. But that's when you have to learn and be creative, and we'll see what they've got going with that on the offensive side.
Yeah, and let's just hope so. All we can do, man, is rely on the coaching. The players are going to have to rely and trust the system, and they're going to have to get out there and really do what they have to do on the field. And they're going to have to take every play like it's their last play. And I don't think some of the times I think that last season, some of the players they took plays off. We can't take plays off this year. And like you said, 80% of the people that we're up against this year, I mean, there's some good football teams, man. So we'll see what happens.
And Tom Allen mentioned this. They have to tackle, which that sounds simpler than it really is. No, what he's saying is you can't miss tackles. When you have a guy, you got to take him in this game, because this is not a non-con game. This is a Big Ten game. This is
Big Ten game.
You're playing against big boys. You're not you're not playing against lesser talent. And it's the first game. Usually those non-con games are games you really kind of work out those kinks. Well, that, as you saw, if you watch the Illinois game, they have a pretty good running back.
Right.
They can throw the ball, and they've got some good DBs. So this is and they've got that game under their belt. You played. Yeah. How important is it for them to have that game? Even though it was against Wyoming, it's basically a scrimmage, but how important was that?
Yeah, it's like I said, man, I don't care who you're up against. I mean, we're big boy football, whether, like I said, it's Wyoming, whether it's in Idaho, or whether it's, I don't care who it is. These guys are coached. These guys have a strength and conditioning program. They have a nutritional program. They have facilities just like we have. So it's no difference. And this is a conference game right out of the gate. So yes, Indiana, you will be tested. You got my full support. You already know that. But Indiana, you will be tested this coming weekend.
Man, what else? Cincinnati, they play this weekend. They play at Arkansas, so there's a game. You got Purdue opening up tomorrow night at home against Penn State. What do you think about that one?
Man, let me tell you something. I hate the Boilermakers, so I'm going to tell you right now, I just hope Penn State run all over them. They're going to run all over the Boilermakers. I'm telling you right now, they're going to run all over them.
See, I think Purdue may win that game. It's not. Really? I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at it from a true looking at it. Purdue's at home. It's Jeff Brom. Penn State not ranked, so they're not the normal Penn State. They do have a 4-year starting quarterback, which that means a lot. So he's not someone you have to worry about. But Purdue always gets a big win as well, and so I guarantee you they're pumped for this, man.
Yeah, they are. I mean, of course they are. I mean, think about it, man. Here you go again, man. You got a big game. You got the nation's attention. It's a Thursday night game, correct?
Yep.
So you got the nation's attention. And for that reason, I'm hoping Penn State they're going to that place up the road. I don't even mention the name of where Purdue is, and I think Penn State can go in there and do a lot of collateral damage from the beginning. At least for us down the line, they need to do some collateral damage, man.
Let's see what games that they've already been played. September 1st, so Thursday night. Let's see. I've already mentioned Purdue and Penn State. Mm-hmm. What other games will jump out? Oklahoma State. They're playing Central Michigan. Tennessee is playing Ball State. Pittsburgh, West Virginia. Oh yeah, the old backyard brawl. Mike DeCourcy was on with us the other day and mentioned that this is the first time they've resurrected this game for quite some time. So that should be a good one. We'll look at that. Let's see. Looking at any other. Minnesota is playing New Mexico State on the Big Ten Network that evening. Not a lot of big games other than that. And then Friday, of course, Indiana is. You've got two 8:00 games, which Indiana, Illinois is probably, it's on Fox Sports 1. It's probably that's the best game. You got
It's probably,
Kansas. They're terrible in football. Duke, they're not good.
No.
Michigan State, number 15, Michigan State does play at 7, but they're playing at home against Western Michigan. That's not much.
That's not much of a game. Like you said,
Indiana, Illinois is the to me the marquee game at 8 o'clock. Colorado plays TCU at 10, but on ESPN. But yeah, it looks like Indiana, the marquee game, baby, 8 o'clock, prime time,
prime time, baby,
time.
Prime time. Hey, if you don't have your ticket, you don't have your ticket on your TV, you better get it, because you best believe I will be there from the first whistle to the last whistle watching that game, brother.
Man, and then Saturday it just opens up. We're almost out of time, aren't we? Gee whiz. Saturday it opens up, so you can go through the schedule yourself. But man, then we got Saturday all day Saturday, and with Indiana having the game on Friday, we can watch Saturday college football. That's a rarity.
Absolutely.
Well, DJ, brother, thank you as always. Look forward to seeing you early and often.
Thank you too, brother. And next week, same time, if you guys don't mind, shoot me the link, and I'll be ready to go, man. It's good to see you guys too.
You as well. Cannot thank everybody enough today. Dustin, of course, Dustin Schutte, Bob Kravitz, our good friend from the Athletic, Kyle Neddenriep, Indy Star, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, and of course, DJ Derek Jackson, John, the producer as well. And most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. And man, oh man, and we're thankful for you. Make sure you're back with us tomorrow. Visit our good friends at Cabello Restaurant, located right on the square, to enjoy the traditions and tastes of Southern Italy right here. All part of the Wow Club as well. Make sure you sign up for the Wow Club, and looking forward to being back tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.